Hello everyone, welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And finally, we are actually going to do a preview to an actual fixture after 3 months. Finally, the Premier League is going to return on June 17th, and this is actually the third time I'm going to preview the Man City versus Arsenal game this season, and the fourth time in total. The first time was the home fixture that they totally trashed us. That is going to be a main fixture in this preview. They always beat us. The second time to attempted a preview was the first time we were going to go to the Etihad, but the game was called off since they qualified for the League Cup final and they're going to participate in that against Aston Villa, so I didn't do that preview. The third time I actually ended up posting the preview, but the game was called off due to what has been going on. And this is the fourth time I'm previewing a Man City versus Arsenal game this season, and it might not even be the last one since both teams are still in the FA Cup. If both teams go through, we might end up seeing us play each other in the semi-final, in the final, and I might end up previewing the game for the fifth time this season. So, well, as long as the games keep coming, I'm going to keep on previewing them. And since the channel has grown, like the last time I did a preview, the last time the Premier League was played, I think I had like 500 subscribers or something. So the channel has grown more during the hiatus. I think I can call it that. Like since the Premier League was called off, the channel has grown a lot, so there might not be a lot of you who have watched my previews before. What I normally do in these previews, I normally check out the history between the two fixtures, the last 4 or 5 games in that stadium between the two teams, and also in general, in total, all the fixtures they've played in the last 2-3 years, how they've been played, the results, what we need to know from those games. I'll also take a look at my lineup, what lineup I would prefer to have in that game, but this time I've added something new. I'm also going to take a look at how I expect Arteta to line up and how I would line up myself, so look out for that at the end of the video. But first, I'm going to take a look at the history of the fixture and the tactical side of the fixture. So let's just get into it. So as I've said, Manchester City has been a very tough fixture for us. Of course, right now we have City remaining, Tottenham, Wolves, Leicester, some really tough fixtures, but I put out a poll like a week ago and people voted this obviously as the hardest game, like 70% of it. So I can't really disagree with them, because let me just start with some stats that you need to know about this game. In the last 5 Premier League meetings, they have scored 14 goals and we have scored 2 goals. Keep in mind, this is Man City versus Arsenal, a team we used to dominate for the first 20 years of the Premier League. We can only score 2 goals against them in the last 5 meetings and none at home in the last 3 meetings. Another stat you need to know, this is the first team to actually beat us in 5 consecutive Premier League games since the Premier League was started. The last time we lost 5 league games in a row was against the same opposition was between 1983 and 1985, before the Premier League was invented, and that was against Manchester United back then, many years ago. Another stat you need to know, Pep Guardiola, since he joined Man City, he has beaten us 6 times. Before he joined Man City had beaten us a total of 6 times since the Premier League started. So he has already equaled Manchester City's record in total since the Premier League started. So in total, they've beaten us 12 times and Guardiola has beaten us 6 times from those 12 times. Another very scary stat. Another stat you need to know is Arsenal conceded 3 first-half goals in a home game, a home Premier League match back in December, and Ljungberg was manager, for only the second time in Premier League history. Guess what the first time was? Against Manchester City again back in 2018. That time they beat us 3-0 in the League Cup final, and a couple of days later they beat us again 3-0 in the Premier League at our place. That's another scary stat. Another stat you need to know, I'm going to look at the away games mostly. I'm just going to briefly take a look at the home games. Like this stat, against them in December at home, we had the fewest shots on target at home since Everton in 2010 and Chelsea in 2015-2016. So this is not a fixture we always play well. And another stat, by the way, when we played them in 2019, last season's away game, City scored after 46 seconds. That was the quickest goal Arsenal have conceded since 2014. So as I've said, this is a very scary fixture for us. So let me take a look at the last couple of fixtures we played. I'm going to briefly take a look at the one we played earlier this season, and that was on 15th December of 2019, and the result was Arsenal 0, Manchester City 3. De Bruyne scored within 2 minutes, Sterling scored after 15 minutes, and De Bruyne added a second in the 40th minute. Now, something that we all noticed about this game is that De Bruyne totally messed up our midfield. Like the way he was running around our midfield. That day we had Torreira and Guendouzi in midfield, and they totally dominated us. Guendouzi and Torreira couldn't handle him at all. So that is one thing I need us to be careful with when we play them next week. Also, in that game, our squad was Leno in goal. Niles played in the back with Chambers, Socrates, and Kolasinac. So not really the ideal back four you'd want against City. Of course, this time we'll have a really different back four, probably a completely different back four. And in the middle, we had Guendouzi and Torreira. Probably you're going to have another really different midfield to that. So I can expect like 8 to 9 changes from that game to now. Another thing, Luis was on the bench for that game. Lacazette was on the bench for that game. So Ljungberg was also manager. So it wasn't a good time to face Man City, let's be honest. That was also Arteta's last game at Manchester City. So I think he actually talked to Guardiola and told him, I'm actually going to go to Arsenal. So we don't really need to score 6 or 7 in this game, because they really didn't try in the second half. Back in 2018-2019, Emery's first season, we will all remember that the first game was against Man City again on 12th August 2018, and they beat us again. Sterling scored and Bernardo Silva scored. City had 17 shots. We only had 9 shots. That was the first game without Arsene Wenger since 1996. Our squad that day, we had Cech, we had Bellerin, Mustafi, Socrates, Niles at left back. We had Guendouzi, Xhaka, Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, and Aubameyang. Niles got injured early in that game, and Steiner came in. He actually played quite decently in that game, surprisingly. Their away game last season, as I've said, Aguero scored within 46 seconds, and he went ahead and scored another 2 to complete his hat-trick. We actually equalized in that game. Koscielny scored to make it 1-1. So they had 19 shots on that day, and he had only 4 shots. On that day, we played a back 5. I actually think I'm actually going to go for that for this game next week. Leno's in goal. It's Steiner, Mustafi, Koscielny, Monreal, and Kolasinac. We again had Torreira and Guendouzi in midfield. So we haven't really seen Xhaka playing in this game, but this time I think we'll have to go for him. The season before that was 2017-2018. We played against them at their place, and they beat us 3-1 again. Aguero scored again. De Bruyne scored again, and Gabriel Jesus scored. Lacazette scored for us. You remember he came from the bench and got us a goal back, but within a few minutes again, the City got a third goal. That day we had Bellerin, Koscielny, Coquelin, Monreal, Kolasinac, Iwobi, Ozil, Sanchez up front. So a lot of changes from that game to what you're going to have right now. And the home game that season, we drew 2-2. And the last time we beat Manchester City was in the FA Cup in 2017. We beat them 2-1, a surprise result at that time because they were way ahead of us. We also went on to beat Chelsea in the final, another surprising result. We always do well at Wembley against these teams. We also beat them in the Community Shield a couple of years before that. In 18 December 2016, they beat us again 2-1 at their place, Son and Sterling. We played a 4-2-3-1. Walcott scored for us that day. The last time we got something from their stadium was in 2015-2016, one of the last games of that season in May. We drew 2-2. Sanchez was good in that game, very, very good. And the last time we beat them at their place was back in 2015, that masterclass from Cazorla, Giroud, Coquelin. We beat them 2-0 at their place. So those were the recent results against them. You can clearly see a lot of 3-0s, 3-0s, 3-0s. Something that surprised me is that we haven't even scored against them at home. In like 4 seasons, we haven't scored against them at home. This is a team we used to beat home and away every now and then. I remember back in 2010, we beat them at our place, when we beat them 3-0 at their place with the likes of Bentner scoring. But recently we've been struggling against them home and away and at Wembley. Also that 3-0 in the League Cup final, it wasn't a good result for us. But well, that is the history of the fixture. Now let me take a look at what my lineup would be for the game. So for my formation, I'll go for a 3-4-1-2 just for this game, not necessarily for the rest of the Premier League. I already put out a video talking about how Arsenal should line up for the rest of the season. I'll link it up in the YouTube card. But for this particular game, I'll go for a 3-4-1-2. And that's because I don't think we have the correct midfielders to dominate the midfield. So we'd rather just set up not to concede a lot, because you can't go toe-to-toe with Man City. You'll concede 6 goals in that game. So for my defense, I'd go for Mustafi, Luiz, and Pablo Mari. And whenever we have the ball, we can have Luiz pushing forward a bit to give those long passes, and we can still have a back four. On the left, I'll go for Saka. On the right, I'll go for Bellerin. We need pace in this game. Really depends on whether what Arteta wants the tactic to be, whether we are going to attack them from counter-attack. So we are going to go toe-to-toe. We are going to defend for the entire game. Really depends. In the middle, I'm going to have Xhaka and Ceballos. I really hope Ceballos works hard in this game. It could have been Torreira, but since we didn't see Torreira against Charlton a couple of days ago, I don't know if he's fit or not, and I don't really want Guendouzi in this game from the start. I want him to come on in the second half, so I'd go for Ceballos. And up front, I'm going to go with Pepe, Martinelli, and Aubameyang. A lot of pace. And my reasons for that is I think Ozil away to Man City, you're going to struggle. If you go for 4 defenders, 2 midfielders, and Ozil, you'll need Ozil to come back, you'll need Pepe to come back, you're going to struggle. Because those guys with Sane who's back now, Sterling, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, it's going to be tough. So I'd need pace up front, and I need people who can run back, and that is Martinelli. Martinelli can come back anytime. I think Ceballos can go forward, come back. Xhaka can stick to his position. Saka and Bellerin can push forward and come back. So that would be my formation. Saka and Tierney, it's a 50-50, but I'd go for Saka because I think he's better attacking-wise and he's on form, so there's not really any need to drop him. But another thing, he also didn't play against Charlton, so we might end up seeing Kieran Tierney there, or even Kolasinac. You never know. So we might see a couple of changes. So that is how I would line up, just to be solid enough. We can't go for a 4-2, whatever formation you can go for, because we really need to cancel out the likes of De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Mars, or else you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that is my lineup. And for Arteta's possible lineup, what I expect Arteta to go for, it will be a 4-2-3-1. I don't expect him to switch the formation unless he actually switches the formation for Man City. He'd go for Bellerin. He'll stick Saka at left back. I don't really want Saka at left back, especially against Man City. I prefer it to be 3 defenders and him on the wing back position. He'd probably start Luiz and Pablo Mari in the midfield. He'd have Xhaka and Torreira, Ceballos, whoever is going to be fit. Is going to have Pepe on the right, Aubameyang on the left, Lacazette up front, and Ozil in the middle. I don't mind Lacazette starting, but since now the Premier League is allowing 5 substitutions, I think you can use that to our advantage, because Man City have a really good bench. Let's also take advantage of that. In the second half, we can bring on maybe Tierney for Saka, we can bring on Niles for Bellerin, you could bring on Guendouzi for Ceballos, depending on how the game is going. Maybe if you're trailing by 1 goal, you can bring on Ozil and Lacazette up front. So a lot of ways you can play in this game. So for my prediction for this game, I'm going to be a bit positive. I'm going to go for Manchester City 2, Arsenal 2, and I'm just being positive because I hope I'm believing that Arteta knows how to play against Guardiola. Let me know in the comment section what your formation would be, which players you'd start, and what your prediction is for this game. And also on Thursday or Friday, I'm going to put out a new segment, a new video playlist of videos. I hope you guys are going to like it. It will be related to this video. So that is my preview. I hope you do well in this game. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the support. Let's hope the Premier League returns with a bang. I'll have my Premier League predictions next week. Aston Villa against Sheffield on Wednesday, Arsenal against Man City on Wednesday, my player ratings after the game. Thanks for watching. Keep staying safe, and I'll talk to you later.